Dexter Gordon, and live at one of my favorite clubs, the Keystone. Thank you, Todd Barkin, where I think I was one of the first guys to play the opening of the Keystone, and I don't think they call it the Keystone yet. And I played there with Vince Guaraldi, and I think we played opposite the loading zone that had my dear friend Linda Tillery, the great singer from Oakland, California. Anyway, this is Rufus Reid, Eddie Gladden, and George Cables. The great George Cables, all the great everybody, the great all these cats. Rufus Reid's from Sacramento, and I was born in Sacramento. Thank you, Mr. Reid. I think he went to Sac High. I love Dexter, and I used to go to the club and hear these cats play, this very band, a lot. And Eddie Gladden was from Newark, and he's one of the swingingest drummers I've ever heard in my life. He had crazy hands. He could blast all over the kit, as people call it nowadays. And he also had a dirty, funky ride beat, man. I don't want to make the guy sound, because he's obviously an intellectual, brilliant artist, but he had a greasy groove, man. You know what I mean? Like, somehow when I take the train to Newark, the first thing I think about is like, Eddie Gladden, you know what I mean? Like, I only said hello to him. He was like, oh yeah, Mike, I heard of you. Hey, hi, that was it. I don't even know the guy. But I was sitting there one night in this club, the Keystone, baby, and with Harvey Mason, the great drummer, who I followed into the Headhunters with Herbie Hancock, and Harvey and I were sitting there listening to these cats, and at one point they were playing some kind of up-tempo blues or whatever, or maybe it was rhythm change, I don't know, but Eddie Gladden took a solo and floored the whole club, and Harvey Mason was like, man, that cat's got some crazy moves, he's got some crazy hands, and it was like, I remember Harvey was blowing out, and so was I, and so was everybody in the club. Eddie Gladden just had I love a dirty quarter note on the cymbal. I love that real nasty. I'm not saying I can do it, I try, and you can make up your mind whether I can do it or not, but he can sure as hell do it.
That's a beautiful touch.
Oh yeah, oh man, oh absolutely, man, just all swing, all day. And Dexter, at the end with his horn, he's so humble, and at the end of the night when the people would clap, he'd put his horn like in his hand like this and come up and go like this, like he's offering you, like I'm not sure, but it was like a sign of love and thank you so much, and I appreciate, and this, yeah, it was great. And anybody want to talk about some swinging? These are the cats.
But why do you think this spiritual music has sort of come back and is popular again?
They called it spiritual jazz back in my time period too, and even before me. I remember when I interacted with Pharaoh and a couple of these people would be like, the way it was put to me, not by Mr. Sanders, but by some of my friends, was, man, you guys are playing that spiritual thing. So somehow spiritual was always associated with John Coltrane, Alice Coltrane, Ohm, the whole, I wasn't aware until you told me that they're calling this spiritual jazz now, but maybe right now would be, people are thirsting for something spiritual, look what's going on in the world, and maybe the sound of that type of thing, that type of music, that sound, maybe because it's so, well, when I used to hear Coltrane and the records you're talking about, I immediately, without anybody saying anything to me, I also used the word spiritual. It would make me think of the universe and our place in it, and all. It just brought that out of me, man, without anybody reading the back of the record, liner notes by some guy, just, that's what I heard. And so maybe it triggers off a church thing in all of us, or some kind of searching for the truth of our lives, and I'm not sure. Also, the whole thing with greed, anger, animality, the profit gain, hey, maybe if we get a rapper, or there's nothing wrong with a rapper, but now if they had a guy that maybe threw rocks through a window, we got to get a guy that throws rocks through the window, it's popular, and put him in a jazz thing, it'll be the latest, and then every one scam after another. It's just like, oh my God. So probably now, when people hear these things, it offers them an alternative. But the music is open, so maybe it helps them to open their lives, open their hearts to each other, open their minds. I know it does me. It's like I like bebop and I like funk and I like structured music, but I also like that. I always did. I remember I used to play with Woody Shaw and Bobby Hutcherson, and Bobby had a big gong, or there was a gigantic gong that was huge. It wasn't even a gong, it was a thing of like some aluminum siding or on a huge stand that was, and it was behind the drums, and when the music would get to a feverish pitch, man, we'd be like, and you were in the moment, you were ready to see God or whatever, he'd take a big mallet and hit that gong. It was like, and it would just like shake the whole building, man, and it was like otherworldly, and that would put me right in where I wanted to be. Wow. Yeah, I was quite young and very stoned, but it was like, yeah, man, we were doing the spiritual thing last night. You should have been there, it wasn't about how fast I played or how much I was burning or how much they were burning or we were burning. It was like, man, we were doing the spiritual thing. So the spiritual jazz vocabulary is not new. That's what we all thought Coltrane was doing. He was searching for the truth, his enlightenment, or how to love other people, or whatever he was looking for. It made me want to look too. When I first met the lady that I'm now living with and sharing my life with, she has a huge stack of vinyl, as we call it now. We used to call them records. And I found this in there. And I'm like, is this your record? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. Is this one of your ex-boyfriend's record or some musician you were dating or whatever? Is this your record? And she was like, yeah, that's my record. And I'm like, right then I was thinking, this relationship is going to last. When in any drummer's life have you gone to somebody you're dating and found this record in their collection? Now, I don't love this record. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't hate it. I nothing this record. I've listened to it. I've had it since I was 13. I think I've listened to the whole thing twice in my life. It's I don't know. I can't critique it. These are two of the greatest drummers ever.
It's an odd fellowship.
Well, that's true. These are two guys from two completely different understandings, that's the part of it that I do like. There's a contrast, but I don't know. This reminds me of going to the gym, and one guy is going to lift more weights than the other. I don't know. I just have, But since I've known about this record, I believe this is on Mercury. Is that right? Yes.
MRC, Mercury.
And I remember having this, and when I saw it in a record store, and I was like, I gotta have that record right now. When I was in junior high, and when I saw that, I guess I made this point, and I'm belaboring the point, but that was set the stage for me to. So I'm still in this relationship, and it's because of this record.